What's up, everyone? Humble Farmer Taiki here, and welcome to this week's edition of Farms of the Week. If you like the content, please like and subscribe, and check out the premium Discord. Link will be in the description below. Prices will be going up at the beginning of next month. So let's get right into it. It seems like the meta has been points, points, points. I do think airdrop farming is the new yield farming. I think the market is too smart, and market has, is educated enough to understand that inflationary token incentive is not going to be worth it. So instead of giving out tokens, let's give out points where the value of these points can't go down. They can only go up. I think if you're a dev, it makes sense, right? It's game theory optimal to just introduce points. If you're a farmer, right, like it's kind of annoying, right? This meme here of this anime guy just in distress because of all these points with all new wallets, new protocols. It makes no sense. And today, this morning, like a couple minutes ago, it was announced that Drift from Solana, they're also going to introduce a point system. So I read through the comment section, every single video, it's like, why is Taiki not covering Solana? Is he an ETH maxi? Look, I'm not an ETH maxi, okay? In fact, I'm far away from it. So Drift, I think, is a really interesting protocol. Not this, but yeah, they raised $23.5 million. For an application, that's pretty impressive. Usually, anything that raises over $20 million, it's usually for some type of L1 or L2. So the fact that Drift raised this much money, I think is very promising. I met, I think his name is David, and I also met Cindy. I went to a Solana hackathon. I think the team is extremely sharp. So I definitely think that this is worth farming. And I'll be farming it, to be honest, whenever more information is publicized. So Drift planning to launch their token shortly after the points program, wrapping up in March. So that's what Cindy said. And in order for you to receive these points, you have to do some volume on Drift. So, trade or just market make or provide liquidity. So, I'm not really a great trader, at least short term, right? I just don't really have an edge, guessing where the market is going to go in the short term. I'm more in the camp of, let's let the degens gamble on these tokens. Or price of these tokens, and then collect the fees by being an LP. So that's definitely something that I'll be doing. Hyperliquid is also one of these, protocols with the point system. And if you go on Twitter, right, or just any social media, everyone's gonna claim how much money they're making and whatnot. But the data don't lie, right? They introduce point system, people are trading, and they're just getting wrecked. And if you think about it, in this time span, the markets have mostly been up only, right? Except the past couple of days. I talked about this in my podcast with Jason Moe last week, but if you're making any money in the markets, then you're doing better than most people, right? So don't let, mid curves like me or, other mid curves on the internet make you feel bad because, I guess, I'm a mid curve. So there's no way that you can feel bad about my performance because, I am literally in the mid curve. But just be aware that, points are cool, but this is how protocols, if you introduce a point system as a dev, you're basically farming the farmers, right? Even the MANTA airdrop, people were pretty upset by it. I did this poll, and this is a really bad way to run a poll, right? This is literally selection bias because the only people that's gonna vote for this type of this type of poll is people that's either really, really pissed or really, really happy, and nowhere in between. So this is a very not a good way to collect the sample. But I just did it for the hell of it, and it seems like people are generally upset, and they also just keep farming engagement by saying Celestia stakers, yada yada yada, fake promises. Farmers are being farmed. So don't be a farmer, right? Be a farmer, but don't be a farmer that gets farmed. Just be aware that protocols are just gonna keep pushing these airdrops off way into the future, and they're gonna keep giving away points. But that's a way for them to generate revenue, right? Because if you're trading on a per protocol, they're gonna profit off of you. If you're lending assets or borrowing assets on the lending market, they're making money off of you, and they're just giving away these fake tokens. But I think it makes sense to be selective. For example, I think Drift is gonna be worth, or the Drift token is gonna be worth a pretty decent amount. And if you go to the protocol, of course you can trade, but I'm not really a fan of trading. I think you'll be receiving points if you provide liquidity in DLP, so you can deposit capital into, Bitcoin, either these vaults, and then collect fees. It's unavailable because I'm based in the US, unfortunately. And there's also these market making vaults. I think these are more delta neutral, where you can deposit as a stablecoin and then collect these APYs. I think, right, I talked to Cindy about this. I think they're going to slowly try to phase this one out, because DLP, this is a VAMM. And look, you know, I mentioned this before. I'm a mid curve, right? So like, don't expect me to, explain everything. But I am pretty aware with VAMMs, and they are pretty dangerous. So if you follow me, this was back in, back Q3 or Q2, Q3 of last year. But I was doing this thing where I was just, doing the scheme, I guess. I mean, it's not really a scheme because, I mean, anyone could have done this. But there were these NFT perp AMMs, and they were all VAMMs. And both of them, they shut down their protocol, or they shut down their V1 because the system was not sustainable. And the way it works, and I'm not saying that this is how Drift works, because, I mean, NFT perps don't really make sense, because it's very illiquid. I mean, I'm sure at some point it'll make sense. But there was this situation where, with most perp protocols, it's not really backed by any asset. And especially with NFT perps, of course, like, you can't really back like a long position or a short position with like actual NFTs. It doesn't really work that way. So let's say the price of a Bored Ape was 30, and the price of Bored Apes on this perp platform was like 35 or something. Because the platform needs to get it down to 30, it's going to incentivize people to short, right? Like, it's going to incentivize new people to come in and short the price of Bored Apes, so the price goes down. And the way that these perp platforms incentivize is by paying out funding, and all the funding fees came directly from the insurance fee, like the insurance fund for all these perp platforms. So because the price of Bored Apes kept going down, I just continued shorting Bored Apes, and I was making money from the short, and also I was also collecting funding directly from these insurance funds. So I was like making money like both on the shorting and also on the funding side. Of course, at some point, both platforms were like, yeah, like, okay, like Taiki is like just like stealing money, right? Taking ETH away from our insurance fund, which came from the VCs, right? I mean, like angel investors and whatnot. So, I was, it was a transfer of wealth from, angel investors to, Taiki Maeda. I made like 5, 6, 7, 8, I think, off of this. And obviously, it's not a sustainable like design, right? And I was like, yeah, like, good for them for admitting that they made a mistake, or, they tried something and it didn't work. So, I'm not saying that it works exactly the same way, but basically with VAMMs, it's virtual AMMs. So none of these assets are backed by actual, I guess, coins, physical coins. So, just be aware that it's somewhat dangerous. One of our Humble Farm Army members, I mean, I'm not going to read through this, but, just understand that it's not like risk-free, right? If any platform is offering you like really high APYs above, I guess, like the risk-free rate, whether it be, treasury bills or I guess the ETH staking rate, there is always additional elements of risk. So just something to be aware of. But I think, that's the risk with DLP, but I think they're going to phase that out. I'm going to be more interested in like these supercharger vaults where, yeah, like maybe I'll deposit some stable coins. Like might as well. Maybe I'll even, deposit some capital into KAMINO, borrow against it, and then deposit into Drift, right? So I can farm both points. Same can go for margin fi. I'm not a huge fan of these money markets. I made a video 2 years ago, actually, evaluating like why money market tokens or like borrow lend market protocols, these tokens just get dumped on, right? Because they don't really make that much money, and the only value I think will only accrue to like these blue chips like Aave or Maker, or maybe not even Compound. All these Aave forks that introduce inflationary token incentives to get TVL. I mean, like, who the hell wants to hold on to these tokens? So, I mean, I know a lot of people farming this. If you're farming it, you get coins, you dump it to accumulate more Sol or Bitcoin or Ether or stable coins. Yeah, like, you should do it. But I am fully aware that these tokens are just going to get dumped on. So I'm not really interested in KAMINO or MarginFi. I know Jito was a big airdrop. I missed out on that because I'm a mid curve. I also think JLP, so this is Jupiter, APYs are pretty ridiculous. It works the same way as GLP. And I was a big GMX guy in 2022. Like, it was like the only asset going up in like the bear market. So, I'm sure most of my viewers understand how GLP and like GLP works. And if, right, Jupiter, they're going to drop a token on the 31st, so 8 days from now. So if, right, if they introduce like escrow to Jupiter tokenomics or something, I will be aping into this for sure. But, I think Drift probably is better. It's probably more capital efficient. Just be aware of the risks. Just read the documentation, right? Just do it. So that's gonna be it for the Solana section. I like Drift. I like JLP. I'm not a huge fan of the other point systems. I think Tensor is good. I think Parcel is interesting, like the real estate perps. But I'm more of a fan of perps on Solana because one of the use cases for or like one of the narratives for Solana was that let's bring the Nasdaq on chain, right? It's like a chain designed for quick trading and cheap transactions and perps. So I would expect Drift to be worth something. And Drift obviously is going to be way more capital efficient than like GLP. So it's going to be a good product, but it's going to be more of a farm from my perspective. So that's going to be it for me, or at least for the Solana section. So there's that. So going back to, I guess, Celestia, right? I posted this meme, which did some numbers, right? It's like, all my TIA is staked and I'm locked for 21 days. It's over. It seems like people really like this. It seems like a lot of people thought I was being real, right? Or I was like not trolling. This is a troll, obviously, right? If you stake Celestia anytime in the past month, all these airdrops happening. And obviously, I tweeted about this, but if you have to sell your airdrops, right? Because if you're staking Celestia, it's very illiquid, right? If you want to sell, you have to wait 21 days. And if things are happening in the market where you want to sell your Celestia, chances are prices are going down. And if prices are going down, then if you have to wait 21 days, at that point, maybe prices are going to go down 50% more, right? If we're in that market situation. So just be aware, right? Celestia, I think it's a good play, pretty asymmetric risk return, but you don't need to bet big on this. For example, I'm equally convinced on, I guess, Celestia and Maker, right? I've talked about Maker a few times, but my Maker bag is much bigger because Maker is very, very liquid. It's the most liquid altcoin on chain. So, I can just get out in one transaction if I wanted to, in 2 hours if I wanted to, right? Whereas for Celestia, I'm locked up. So just be aware of these risks. There's no such thing as a free lunch. It's all thesis driven. It's also it's all concept wise, or there's nothing proving the Celestia thesis that it's gonna make you a bunch of money or make me a bunch of money. So just be aware. And if you don't sell any of your airdrops, then you're just sitting on air, right? It's all fluff. So I like Dimension, but it's being dumped on, right? Before the AVO market launched, my prediction for Dimension was that it's gonna launch at $1 to $2, and then it'll settle somewhere around $5. Maybe that's being priced in ahead of time. I honestly have no idea. But for Dimension, I'm probably not going to sell my airdrop. I'll probably just stake it. And then for other airdrops like Manta or AltLayer, right? So AltLayer, they announced their airdrop. They took a snapshot on January 17th, and 10% of the airdrop is going to go to Celestia stakers. And I don't think so the claim site for TIA stakers is work in progress. They don't have airdrop eligibility criteria yet, but maybe they're going to do a claim page a week or 2 weeks or a month after the token goes live. It's kind of annoying, right? How all these teams are pushing off the Celestia airdrops and whatnot, but also how can you complain, right? There's nothing forcing these teams to airdrop. In fact, all these airdrops, you can kind of think of them as marketing tools. So, AltLayer, they raise so much money, restaked rollups. So maybe this token does well going to Eigenlayer launch. But most people didn't really know what this protocol did, right? And I would expect that most of these followers are, fake, right? And they bought these followers. Who knows, right? Things like this, right? AltLayer, I'm gonna dump it at some point. Maybe I'll just hold on to it and then wait until the ETH maxis start showing Eigenlayer, right? And then I'll just dump on the ETH maxis. Actually, the ETH maxis are angel investors, so the angel investors never lose, right? They never lose. But look out for this. I still think that Manta. I still think that they're eventually gonna give it to TIA stakers, maybe a couple months after. They already dropped the token, right? So I still think that they can't really go back on their their claims that they are gonna involve the Celestia community. So I wouldn't give Manta too much hate right now. If they don't say anything for let's say it's like middle of February and they don't say anything, then yeah, like, I think we should. I mean, right now I'm holding a rake, right? But this will become a pitchfork at some point, right? If Manta just keeps ignoring us. So this is called activist airdrop farming, right? It's like, we have to take matters into our own hands. We can't just let these teams just get away with it, right? If they keep lying to people. So activist airdrop farming, you have to join me, right? You have to join me on this journey. Otherwise, the VCs will get away with it for free. But like alt layer, I think it's gonna be a pretty decent airdrop. I think. I know people like don't like this thing. It's worth 24 cents. I mean, $2.4 billion FTV. Like I have no idea how to value these things. But hey, like it probably pumps an eigenlayer launch, right? So like, that's kind of gonna be my plan. It's not loading, but it's like 24 cents. Also Dimension, the claims are no longer live. Oh, sorry, the claims ended. So all the people that didn't claim their Dimension tokens, they're gonna be going into the people that did claim. So I think only half the wallets claimed their DYM. But if you think about it, right, most of the DYM went to Celestia stakers. And I really doubt that anyone that staked Celestia like forgot about this. So I think most of the unclaimed wallets are like Solana wallets or like ETH wallets. And all those wallets barely got any DYM. So, I think in terms of like redistribution, I don't really think we're going to get that many new tokens, maybe like 20 to 30% more tokens, which is great, right? I mean, if you got 200 tokens and you get, let's say 50 more, I mean, at the current pricing of DYM on Avo, it's like $150, which, like that's great, right? You can't really complain about free money. I think crypto people, right? People love to complain about free money, but I think, we have to be thankful, and we should only be upset if teams lie to us, like Manta Network. We'll see. And lastly, also Jupiter, not Jupiter, Berachain. So this has been hyped for quite some time now. I'm not really sure how to feel about this. They raised $42.69 million, right? Or like $42.069 million or something, at like a $420 million valuation. And they just dropped testnet. Honestly, I'm not going to be doing this. I'm too lazy, to be honest. But if you have the time, then you should do it. Like there's like no downside other than, I guess, like the opportunity cost of your time. One of the reasons I'm not doing this is because it is EVM. And one thing about airdrops is that any airdrop that's on like some EVM chain is going to be massively diluted, right? Because all the money, all the capital in crypto, or most of the capital in crypto, is on ETH mainnet and also L2s. And obviously they're all EVM, right? So if there's any airdrop opportunity that is EVM, there's no friction for these ETH maxis and I guess like ETH people or like regular people to just bridge to a new chain and like do all this. There's friction, right? Of course, when it comes to, let's say, downloading like the Phantom wallet or the Kepler wallet on Solana and Cosmos. And that's why all these airdrops, that's not EVM, is less diluted. And for that reason, if I had to spend 10 hours airdrop farming something, I think the risk reward of my time is better suited for non-EVM chains over EVM chains. It doesn't mean that, for example, like, I would much rather farm Berachain than, like, what is it? Where's KAMINO? Right, KAMINO, for example, because I'm not a huge fan of like money market tokens. Just because something's on non-EVM doesn't mean that it's going to be worth a lot, right? You have to think about, okay, like how much is this thing going to be actually like worth? So obviously L1 tokens, L2 tokens are going to be worth a lot more than like any of these like app tokens on average. So I still think it's worth doing, but just something to be aware of. There was like this situation where on Scroll, right, the ZK-L2 or like whatever, right, general purpose L2, layer 2 on Ethereum, there was like the situation where I could have like deployed a smart contract on Scroll to receive some developer NFT. And I'm like, yeah, like let me just mint that NFT. And then I did that, right, on like a single wallet. And then a week later, the Scroll put out this announcement. It's like, oh yeah, like 3 million developers minted this NFT on Scroll. And obviously there's like there's no way that 3 million like people, right, deployed a contract. It's more likely that like maybe like a couple thousand people, like each, like all these like airdrop farming operations like just minted this NFT because they have some bots. And all these bots, like these bots are made for EVM, but not for non-EVM. I would expect later in the year, there would be a bunch of bots in non-EVM land. So, I mean, there's such a thing as alpha decay, right? Like if there's a bunch of money to be made in like doing something, then at some point the market will figure it out and it's going to be diluted. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So just something to be worried about, or just something to be aware of. But I think Berachain, right? I mean, if you have time, like definitely do this. I have Tia and Adam staked, so hopefully they'll give me some tokens. I mean, I'm not really counting on it, to be honest. You know, they already have NFTs. I'm pretty sure that they're going to reward, you know, testnet users and NFT holders over passive holders like me. But hey, you know, who cares? I mean, you know, like my expectation for, I guess, holding Celestia was that, where's that meme? I love this meme. Oh yeah, there. My expectation for Celestia is that, you know, like maybe in 2024, maybe once a month, I'll get like a pretty decent airdrop. And when I say decent, I'm not saying like, you know, $10,000, right? Maybe like $500, $300. I mean, that's a decent airdrop if you think about it. And if, you know, like if every single month there's on average like a $300 airdrop, then like that's pretty good. But that doesn't mean that there's going to be an airdrop every single week or every single month, right? Maybe in January there's 3 really good airdrops, and then in February there's like no airdrops. But that doesn't mean that like that was a bad play, right? I have no inside information. I have no idea who's going to be who's going to be airdropping the TS stakers. But you know, it makes sense from like a developer perspective because it's free marketing, right? I think about how many people are talking about alt layer because of this airdrop. Like thousands of people didn't even hear about this token, and now they're like, wow, like you restaked rollups. That's kind of cool, right? You know, it's mostly like a marketing tool for these projects. Also, right, if you're building on Cosmos, you know, it's the ethos to airdrop to the community. So, you know, there's also like some social layer to these airdrops that I think people are also overlooking, especially if you're like an ETH maxi. That's going to be it for me, I think. I don't know if there's anything I want to talk about. Talk about mid-curving, right? I'm a mid-curve, that's fine. I love this meme, right? It's so good, especially because people think I was being serious. That's like the best meme when, you know, you're being sarcastic, but people don't know that you're being sarcastic. Yeah, I mean, you know, like points, right? If you're a dev, it makes sense to do points, but you know, don't let the devs farm you, right? Just do not let the devs farm you, right? This is an example of Hyperliquid dropping points and then the devs farming all the traders. I mean, if you're an LP, you know, you're printing money, right? Because all these, you know, people that think they can like 10x long, you know, or 10x short, they're just getting absolutely destroyed. But hey, you know, like transfer wealth, I suppose. Efficient markets, I suppose. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys next week. And if you like the content, please check out the premium Discord. Prices will go up at the beginning of next month. Thanks for watching and have fun farming out there. Bye-bye.